Hey everyone, welcome back to West Coast Mopars. This is a 68 Dodge Dart GT convertible. My buddy Brad just bought this car. He's just over dealing with the paperwork right now. We're just here in Duncan on the island. And thought I'd film the car for you guys. So he's asked me to come along and drive the car back to my house. I just live near Parksville. And put it in my shop for about a week and just go over it before he takes it home. So he was the guy that owned the 69 Dodge Charger, the plum crazy one that I did a video on, that went to Victoria. And so he's sort of been looking at, about 100 ads every month, different cars, trying to figure out what he likes, and he stumbled on this one, and it just grew on him immediately. And he's all twitchy and excited, so it's obviously the right car. Yeah, it looks like a really straight, clean example. It's got the GT trim on the side still. I know my cousin has a 68 Dart GT, a two-door hardtop, and it's got this side trim. It's interesting, whoever did the body and paint, they put a bumblebee stripe on it, but they kept the side trim, put the trim right over the stripe. It's got small bolt rally wheels. It's actually got a bulge hood, which is interesting. This would have been your 340 or 383 GTS bulge hood. It's got the proper hood too. It doesn't have the callouts in it like the 69. Got those round side markers. Got the Pentastar on it. It's got all the convertible stuff too, the wide A-pillar trim. Top, I think the top's new, or newish, they said. It's got the proper pieces in the back too for the back seat for the convertible. And it's a factory 4-speed car. That's very cool. A convertible 4-speed car. That's pretty rare. I looked underneath. It's got the torque boxes in it. The guy said originally it was a slant 6, but it's now got a 273 Commando. Well, the Commando's the Plymouth version, but you know what I mean. But yeah, there's that stripe. Goes underneath the trim. So I don't know if that was added. I'm assuming maybe it was sold this way. I don't know. Dodge did some weird stuff. But the trunk panel's in great shape. It's got an 8 3/4 underneath. Looks nice under there. Looks like all the convertible trim on the back here is in good shape. Just get the hood open here. Oh, if I can. Bottom of the hood looks nice. Inner fenders are beautiful. And there's the the Charger 273. So Dodge said Charger, Plymouth said Commando, but same thing. Yeah, it's pretty. That's a really clean engine. It's got an aluminum Champion radiator. Like the brake booster and master cylinder, the washer bottle, everything's been gone through. Yeah, I think he did well on this. He got it for a great price. It's going to be fun keeping that white interior clean. I wouldn't be able to own it, that's for sure. Now I'll fire it up here. May as well, it's going to be me driving it. The gas gauge works, that's nice to see. I think he said the radio works. Yep. It's funny, the heater was turned off. Well, I'm definitely going to be having the heater going. There's the thing for the convertible top. Yeah, just a nice sound. Not super loud, not super aggressive. Should be a fun car to drive home. It's still got points. Still got the original 4-barrel AFB. Well, we're on the highway. It's looks pretty neat looking over that bulge hood in here. Fuel gauge works. We filled the tank. Temp gauge, it did come up. It doesn't move much, but it seems like it's working. The heater works awesome. The clutch is super weird. The clutch pedal is very stiff. It's like all of a sudden it just releases. There's no like nice smooth motion to it. And it's got tall gears. We're doing 50 miles an hour, third gear. I just shifted to fourth, and it's you can hear the RPMs are quite low, so it's probably got they're 14-inch tires, but they're quite tall, so they're probably if 323s, maybe 29s. But overall, I mean, man, I barely even have to touch the steering wheel. It drives nice and straight down the road. It's holding its heat very well. You know, it's not all leaking out the roof or the gaps. There's not a ton of air wind, or not a ton of wind noise. No, it's a nice car. I think you did very well on it. Tons of attention. Everybody's looking at us. Doesn't help that it's mid-January, so nobody's driving these around right now, here at least. We lucked out on the day the roads aren't totally covered in salt. Yeah, we'll see what it does for fuel mileage. The brakes are very sticky, but I don't think it's moved in probably 4 or 5 months. I think it was just parked in that garage. So sticky brakes, they're 9-inch drums on the front. The rear's maybe 10-inch. Well, it's an 8 3/4, so it's going to have 10-inch rears. They're 9s on the front. Now the clutch, I'm going to check. I'll put it on the hoist and see if it's a diaphragm. If it is, it's actually got an over-center spring on the pedal. So if it's a diaphragm, you're supposed to take out that over-center spring. It's very easy to push the clutch, but it's got that weird moment in it where it sort of releases funny. So if that's the case, that'd be an easy fix. Okay, just drove it an hour north from Duncan. 0 issues on the highway. But yeah, didn't overheat. Awesome fuel mileage. Probably got about 15 miles per gallon. And I would go ahead and say it's probably a true 53,000 mile car. I don't think it's rolled over. When you look at the brake pedal in here, well, you can see in the dark, but the pedal pads are in really good shape. The radio works like crisp, clear, not crackly at all. This dash is super clean. And the cool thing, like little stuff like that, like the light still comes on for the key when you open the door. And when you put it in reverse, got the radio on there. When you put it in reverse, the reverse light comes on. That light that just came on there, that it reads reverse. So it's little stuff like that that still works after all these years. Whoop. Little stuff that still works like that after all these years leads me to believe that it's a true 53,000 mile car. But I'm just going to move it into my garage here in the front yard. on the pedal, so it's really quite a weird clutch to push. And the other thing is the brakes. There we go. The rear brakes, other things like this is pretty neat. So the light under the dash works, but if you flip the seat forwards, these little lights under here work. Like stuff like that, that normally this stuff stops working. That was convertible only, I think, because a hardtop would have the light up in the ceiling. But anyways, but there's my 70 next to it, 344 speed. And then we got this 68 now. It's not mine. I'm just keeping it here for my buddy for a couple days. Basically, I'm going to go through the brakes for him. He lives in Port Alberni. I normally, I don't overthink things. I would take this thing in a heartbeat over the hump. However, the brakes are pretty pathetic. The front brakes, they're 9-inch drums. And the front brakes they're pretty worn out. I can feel it going down the road. They're okay when you're going slow, but they stay on. They don't seem to release very well. And going down the highway, you touch them and it's shooting you all over the road. It feels like you got next to no brakes, even though the pedal's stiff. So typical drum brake stuff when they're worn out. The rears are actually grabbing the drum. I can hear them back there making a chunking sound. So it just needs the brakes to be gone through. And I told him he's a great guy. He loves detailing the cars. I don't know how much mechanical he wants to do or would do on it. He wants things to be right though. So I just said, honestly, why don't we just leave it here at my house? Give me a few days and I will go through it and repack your wheel bearings, go through your brakes. He just wants to hop in and drive it and enjoy it. Well, if you're going to do that, you got to have good brakes. So that's the plan. I'm just going to pull these apart probably tomorrow and go through it. And then he can take the car home and just enjoy it without stressing about the rest of it. Alright, I've got his Dart up on the hoist. Now, just looking underneath, it's super clean under here. It's definitely a good purchase. The frame rails are very clean. They've got some overspray, so I don't know. I'm guessing somebody came under here and sprayed the frame rails a little bit while they sprayed the car. You can see here, the brake line's got red overspray on it, so the brake line obviously was in place. But then as you go back, they've painted the floor black, and it looks like it's a very solid car to begin with. It doesn't look like there's much for patchwork. And the original floor pans look to be really nice. Here's the torque boxes. You guys don't know what torque boxes are. These boxes that are welded in, they came standard on convertibles because they flex so much. And here's the other one. See this with the hole in it right here? This is the rear torque boxes. So if you guys are looking at torque boxes or you've heard the expression, or the term, I should say, for what they are, that's what they are. And so if your convertible does not have them, either someone's removed them for some reason, or you may have a hardtop that had the roof cut off. But the torque boxes are in great shape. Coming up to the front, here's the other one. And then here's the 8 3/4. It's a 741 case. Fender tag came up as 323s, and it's got a tag on it. It reads 323s, so it's probably correct. Definitely feels like it. I'm going to change the brake hoses for them. They're super old and crusty. They don't look like they've been done in a long time. But the rear frame rails, very nice. Yeah, everything looks, all the normal rust spots on these are looking pretty good. Looks like maybe somebody did trunk drops when they did the quarters. And then here's the 4-speed. It's an 833 4-speed, non-overdrive, so it's a cast iron case. I'm not sure what year it is. Doesn't really matter. And he's got looks like a Hurst shifter. 67's had an inland, which is where it's got the reverse lockout. You pull up on the little T handle to get into reverse, but the Hurst, you don't have to do that. No, it looks really good. And this is 273. Way up there, engine numbers read 1967. And I looked at the other side. You won't see it, it's behind the starter, but it is a 273. And then these drums are 9-inch. So these would have been from the Slant 6. This was a Slant 6 car with 3 on the tree. Not originally a 4-speed car. Now, I don't know if he was told it was a 4-speed car when he bought it. I think that's sort of the idea, was that it was a Slant 6 4-speed car. But the fender tag reads that it's a Slant 6 3 on the tree. So the pedals are original. It was a manual transmission, but just not a 4-speed. But these drums, I'm going to pull them apart. I'm going to do, now that I've seen the brake hoses, I'm going to change them for them. But the shoes themselves, my guess is that they are cracked. I'm not sure about the wheel cylinders. I sort of just ordered all this stuff. It was cheap and figured rather have it here than piece it together. And I'm just going to pull this inspection cover off and look and see if it is a diaphragm clutch, because it is really weird to push. I also see here the adjustment is all the way back, so maybe that's part of it. But the pedal's all the way up at the floor, like it's all the way normal. Now I wonder if I pull on this clutch fork, yeah, you can hear it hitting. So it's not like there's a bunch of play there. So something strange is going on with the clutch pedal, but I'm just going to drop the inspection cover and take a look. Okay, inspection cover off, and like I suspected, there is a diaphragm clutch. I don't know how well you can see it with my light, but there it is. It doesn't have the 3 big fingers, it's got all the small ones. So the general rule of thumb, as far as I know, with a diaphragm clutch in your Mopar, is you want to remove the over center spring that is underneath it's on the clutch pedal. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, see that big massive spring right up there where the end of my hook's hanging? That is the over center spring on the clutch pedal. So you want to remove that with a diaphragm clutch. The only reason for that spring is on an old Borgbeck 3-finger, the big 3-finger clutch pressure plate, is they're so stiff to push that pedal basically makes it easier for your leg to push on it. But with a diaphragm, it actually does the opposite effect, and it makes it with a weird tough spot, like exactly what this car has. It's got that weird tough spot when I push on it. So I'll put the inspection cover back together here, and I'm just going to crawl underneath the dash there and remove that spring. Okay, front passenger brake is apart. The drum, it's funny, the drum says brand new, but whoever wrote that didn't put a date. So that could be brand new 30 years ago. However, it does look pretty good inside. It looks good, but when you look at the thickness of the drum, there's actually not a lot of meat left on the inside if I was to turn it. So I don't know that it's actually brand new. It should be, this inner flange, this inner one here, should be way thicker if it's brand new. But anyways, I don't think I'll even bother touching these. They're pretty good. The shoes look good, at least on this side. Nothing's cracked. He did look into disc brake conversions. Unfortunately, because it's small bolt pattern, 5 on 4 inch, disc brake, your only option is the Kelsey Hayes 4-piston disc brakes, which they did come stock on these cars, but they are extremely hard to find. They are extremely expensive, and you can't get calipers, you can't get anything, so you got to rebuild your stuff, and I don't even know if it's worth it. And then there is conversion kits. I looked at Scarebird, my 57 Royal there. It's got a Scarebird kit I put on the front. They do have a kit. It uses like a Toyota something, some kind of Toyota rotor, but you have to drill it yourself and then put in long studs. And then it also doesn't work with front sway bar, which this car has. So yeah, instead of using a kit where you'd have to get rid of the sway bar or whatever, It's nice that they offer it. It's a little complicated, unfortunately. It's not just a simple bolt-on like on that car. You basically just order the parts and put them on. This one you got to drill the rotors, use longer studs because they don't clear the rally wheels easy enough, and yada yada yada. So I'm just going to go through the 9-inch drums, make them safe, and drive this car over to port for Brad. And yeah, there's a better view of the front wheel cylinders. Just rusted and gross. So yeah, good thing to change them. Alright, I just got the drum off the driver's side. Here's great evidence of, look at all that sludge build up there. That's a great sign the wheel cylinders are leaking, because all that dust, the brake dust, just gets absolutely soaked, turns into this sludge. It's all over the shoes, and then you can see the shoes are actually, they're kind of broken. Same with this side, it's crumbling apart, see on the inside there. Alright, I got driver's side rear back together. So here's interesting. The shoes I did end up changing. There's some hairline cracks along the top. This side, same thing. And the wheel cylinder was definitely leaking. Here it is. See, it's all goopy around the sides here. So this one's even worse. So these were leaking. So happy to change those. But I go to the passenger side, and you can see here, there's some history. It's definitely been leaking. It's all caked on top of the wheel cylinder, all over the drum. And look at these shoes. These are not riveted like the other side, and they're very thin. They're good time. I mean, they're probably about half life left, but not riveted. So either somebody changed, the other side had more life, so I think somebody changed the shoes just on that one side, but not this side, which is kind of strange. Okay, passenger side is done. New shoes, and new wheel cylinder, springs are back in. The rear brakes are just as easy as the fronts. The only thing different is you usually have the parking brake assembly, so that's this lever here going across. And up top here, there's that sort of pin in there with the little clip. So when you pull the cable, when you pull the handle, it pulls the cables for the parking brake. And all it does is it basically pulls on the bottom down here. Oh, it's up here, I guess. Pulls on this lever, and this bar basically spreads across and forces the shoes out. Alright, just about to bleed the brakes. They're all finished, so just hopped up here. I popped the cap off the master cylinder, and look at that, the front reservoir, that's the big one, completely dry. There's a little bit of fluid pooled in the corner there, but it's not even over the hole there where it goes through. The rear, about halfway. Now, I did change some brake lines, but maybe only like a quarter teaspoon of brake fluid came out. That's nothing. So that's pretty scary. I just drove this thing all the way home, I'd say, on just the rear brakes, and they were just hanging on at that. So we'll get these bled, and then I'm going to jack up the rear end and spin the drive shaft with the car in neutral and see which way the wheels spin. If both wheels spin the same way, that means you've got a SureGrip. If one spins forwards and one spins in reverse, that means you have an open diff. So we'll check that out in a bit and see what he's got. Okay, brakes are bled. Now I'm just going to adjust the brakes. And so all you do for that is you see those two rubber sort of plugs there in the bottom of the backing plate. Just sort of these guys. You pop those out, and one of them you'll be able to see the adjusting wheel. It's got teeth on it, and you push on the bottom of it. No, sorry, you push on the top. I'm trying to think which way they spin. Basically, you push on it one way and it'll go very easy. The other way it'll sort of bind on you and be tough, because that's what that little plate inside does. It catches the teeth so that it can't spin inwards so that it can't make the shoes come in from the drums. So you just use a flat blade screwdriver and I like to just spin the wheel and then take a little bit of slack out of the wheel. Sorry, out of the wheel with the teeth in there. And then you just keep spinning the tire until you can hear the shoes rubbing and there's a little bit of friction, and that's as far as you go. And then you do the other side, you just go all 4 corners. But what I also wanted to show you is this a SureGrip. So I'm going to spin this drive shaft clockwise, and we will see which way both tires spin. So there's clockwise. You can see the driver's side wheel. It's awkward with this light, but spinning forwards. Right, here I'm spinning it clockwise. And the passenger side spins forwards. Same with the driver's side. So that tells you got a SureGrip. If the one wheel would spin back opposite direction of the other wheel, that means you have an open diff. So that's pretty cool. He's got a 323 geared. It's a 741 case, which is pretty normal for an A body. And it's a SureGrip because they're spinning the same way. So he'll be excited to hear that. Okay, I just took out the over center spring. So this is it here. This big, huge spring goes with the clutch pedal, and this little other guy just hooks, this piece here, just hooks on to the bracket. Alright, it's Sunday morning here. It's -2. It's about 8:30 a.m. I'm just about to drive this car over to Port Alberni. Brakes are good, clutch is good. I took that over center spring out and that definitely fixed the issue. But I thought I should probably try out the convertible top. I know it's the worst time to do it because it's -2, and so let's hope that the roof doesn't get jammed or something horrible. But I thought you guys probably will want to see the top come down and see what this thing looks like with windows down, top down. So it's all, you just push a switch and it's all hydraulic. There's little hydraulic rams in the back. You don't have to do it manually. So yeah, I'll set up the camera here and we'll see what it does. Alright, that worked pretty well. I'm not going to go to the trouble to set the back part up, you know, where you fold everything over, but there it is. Glass is all tucked down in there. The frame is in awesome shape. See down there, everything just tucks away, sort of clips into the back seat. Yeah, that's pretty neat. So that's what it'll look like, top down in the summertime. Let's hope it comes back up, because man, it's pretty cold out here. You see the ground is all cracked and frozen. Yeah, that's a pretty car. The white interior, that's going to look really nice. Rolling up somewhere and looking in here and you just see the white interior, red exterior. It's a 4-speed. What a neat car. I'm glad I put the top down just to show you guys. Anyways guys, I'm gonna wrap it up here. Thanks for watching, and we will see you in the next video.